It's homecoming night for Wrightstown High School. You'll find horns and drums playing in the streets, but it's not the sounds that are bringing this community together tonight.
Everyone stayed excited because we're playing the game for PD, is what the boys have been saying.
I'm not going to lie to you, the beginning of the week was rough, but I think as they've got more and more encouraging updates, it's gone steadily uphill.
From the Boulevard, you get a sense of more than just excitement for a big game.
We get behind each other, and when something like this happens, there isn't a question.
And by the time you make it to the field, you notice shirt after shirt with PD Strong on it.
Not only the high school kids, the middle school kids, the elementary school kids, it affects everybody.
School just about shut down to hand all those things out, and it was great to see in one day 1,400 or whatever the number was, shirts go out the door. It was really awesome.
And while homecoming is being celebrated tonight, these fans hope for another homecoming of sorts for their friend.
He's really funny, everyone loves him.
For their neighbor.
It affected a lot of the community members.
In the very near future.
Everyone was really worried about him, and now everyone just keeps praying and giving him positive vibes to help him get better.
Showing that support like this is easy to find when you live in the right community.
Nice.
Decked out in holiday PJs, Mrs. Wilson's 5- and 6-year-olds are preparing
Hot cocoa save the day.
for one of the biggest days of the year for any kid. Are you excited about Christmas or what?
Yes.
Why?
Because I get to open presents.
But don't let Jack's smile fool you. This kid's a giver too. He's also at the top of his class when it comes to coloring.
He is. He's a great colorer. Great kid.
So good with the marker, he ended up winning a bike from a local newspaper because of his skills. Was it a lot of work? But Jack already has a bike. His buddy Edgar, though.
They stole it. They stole 2 bikes mine.
And while many kids this age would have a problem parting with their favorite color of marker, Jack's a giver.
He was looking for a friend. He doesn't have a bike and he found me.
The kind gesture may be lost on these kids.
I cried along with a lot of other teachers.
But for adults everywhere, this small act from a small person can serve as a reminder.
If everybody was as sweet and kind as kindergartners, the world would be such a much happier place.
A reminder of what the season
And to all, a good
Night.
is truly about. It took months of planning, dozens of volunteers, and a handful of kids to kick off this program. But after all the hard work, organizers, parents, and especially those kids proved it was well worth all the work. Today at the YMCA in Oshkosh, they only expected about 6 to 10 kids to show up and learn some soccer basics.
There's not a whole lot out there for kids with disabilities.
But these kids, or should I say athletes,
Always happy to join the crowd.
helped crush that number.
We had 23 kids sign up for this first time, and we're hoping it grows.
The Top Soccer program teams up kids with limitations with some one-on-one coaching.
He has not been on any teams of the sports teams.
A lot of times he, runs past it and he asks, what are they doing? And so he got to do it himself.
But these hour-long sessions go deeper than just putting a ball in the net.
It's an opportunity for Jamaris and all the children like him, for inclusion.
For him to be able to be out here on the field and feel like his big brother and do the things like he sees his brother do is what's pretty cool.
And while most of these skills can be learned with time, instant gratification can be found here too. For everyone, so much easier.
To be part of the action.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just great to see these kids having fun and enjoying themselves like anyone else. And they don't get that opportunity.
And while the word opportunity has been kicked around a lot, maybe it's the word team
To come and be a part of a team.
that better describes what many of these kids experienced for one of the first times. The Packers cheerleading squad may be disbanded, but in the matter of a quick afternoon together, the women picked up right where they left off. There really isn't a better backdrop for a Packer cheerleaders reunion.
It was special being down on the field, and I still feel like we belong there. Yeah, we should be there.
But where else would these women stir up memories that most haven't touched in decades?
Trust me, every girl here was digging out a lot of photos. I've only seen this group of girls one time in the last 30 years.
Today, dozens of former cheerleaders from the 80s took that walk
We had 2 sets of sisters on the 85 squad.
right down memory lane.
We were like celebrities.
Even recalling some of the better hair choices they made in an era known for big hair.
I was told by one of my cheerleading friends, you have to go blonde because the camera guys always go on the blonde girls. So I dyed my hair blonde just so I could get on TV. And you know what? It worked because on that Monday night game, they did do a headshot of me. So it did work.
And while getting on the big screen was a big deal for any one of these ladies, it was the moments that the masses didn't see that are cherished the most.
The first time somebody asked me for my autograph, I'm like, what, me? You want my autograph?
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool.
The little girls would always come up wanting your autograph. We'd have our posters with us, and it was such a big deal. But yes, at the beginning you were like, really? You want ours? But it really meant a lot.
So as the reunion 30 years in the making wraps up,
We had fun.
these cheerleaders are already thinking of their next hurrah.
I don't know why we didn't think of this sooner.
Cheerleaders from St. Norbert College and UWGB are the unofficial cheerleaders at Packers games today. The ladies I spoke with this afternoon say it would be nice to see the Packers bring an official squad right back to Lambeau. Most will live their life without having a baseball field named after them and without countless trophies with athletic achievements engraved. But Coach Nerschel isn't your average man.
There are just so many people that he impacted in his years down here.
After serving in World War II, he went to the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. There he was a standout in both baseball and football. He brought those talents to Kimberly High School in 1950 as a coach in a small town.
He worked with the smaller teams, and they were able to stick right with the Appletons and Ninas and football and baseball and everything, which I think he was quite proud of. Didn't matter who they played, they were competitive with them.
He would coach here for over 3 decades.
30-some years as baseball coach, I think every kid in Kimberly knew they were going to play for him.
And the imprint he left on those kids, some who turned into lifelong friends, is what really makes his career one for the record books.
A good father figure for me growing up. When he came into the community, it was right after when my dad passed away, and he really related to the kids, and that was one of his specialties at Kimberly, and that will never be reproduced.
And with all the coachable moments in life,
It didn't matter who they played, they were competitive with them.
who better than a coach himself to share some of the insights you just don't find from any man?
I think they learned respect, they learned to give their best and leave it all out on the table, and you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, win, lose, draw, I did the best I could.
You know, he had hardships, but I think he knew that that was part of life. And he said, you know, Lee, I wouldn't change anything with my life.
Going to show that accomplishments are hard to stack up next to life's most memorable coachable moments. This event would never have been if it wasn't for a Jacksonport kid who thought he could beat his dad in a race 30 years ago.
I lost a bet to my dad when I was 11.
That kid turned into a man, a well-dressed man today, and in the time since he jumped into Lake Michigan on his own so long ago, the party has grown.
And now we've become one of the biggest clubs in the country.
Ready to go.
This will be my 8th time. It never gets old and it never gets cold.
With an air temperature of about 22 degrees today, the water is actually a relief from the cold at a warm 32 degrees.
You know, it's a little chilly. You got to watch out for some floating ice.
But all the same, bringing over 500 people together every year has become more than a tradition. It's almost spiritual for some.
It's a good baptism for the new year, so to speak.
Happy New Year!
And even while the rush,
It takes your breath away.
apparently feels like needles all over your body.
My feet are freezing.
Once the adrenaline kicks in, I'm told, you really stop feeling everything.
And I'll tell you, the warmth you get from high fives after you get out is beyond compare.
Most of us won't get the chance to run out of the tunnel at Lambeau, but the feeling here is as close as I think most of us will ever get.
So as the Jacksonport Polar Bear Club wraps up another successful plunge and adds a few new members,
That was awesome.
here's to another 29 years of bringing in the new year like no one else.
It's just crazy enough that most people think you're nuts.
In Jacksonport, Eric Crest, NBC 26. Nearly 200 people put vanity aside and shaved their heads today in Green Bay. Turns out raising money for childhood cancer research is a personal thing for more people than you'd expect. One way or another, cancer will touch nearly all of us eventually.
Both of my parents died of colon cancer at young ages.
My Aunt Amy had breast cancer.
Childhood cancer was never really known in our family until Colton was diagnosed.
So if shaving your head can help raise some money for childhood cancer research, these people don't mind having a little bit taken off the top.
Got no hair.
The hair can come off and it's payback time.
But a little itchy.
I bet. For most here, the fundraiser is personal, and it turns out age won't cut anyone short of cancer's reach.
For 2.5 years, he fought the hard battle.
Colton died, and so I did it for him.
So as nearly 200 brave souls here,
How cold am I going to be?
slowly learn how to sport their new look,
I got my head shaved.
they'll find some comfort knowing they did it for more than just vanity.
About $2,600.
Right there. That is awesome.
It makes me feel like I'm supporting them, the people with cancer.
They realize it's an important issue to raise awareness.
My friends, family, people that I don't even know helped me raise over $4,500.
Because in St. Baldrick's 11th annual event here, the patrons, just like the hair, tend to come back. It's anticipated that today's event brought in more than $70,000, and as you saw, some of the biggest contributors were just kids who care.